Shalom, friends. Welcome to another Shear in Tanya, written by the Alter Rebbe. I'm Eliyahu Shear from Chesed Ve'emet. My site is www.lovingkindness.co. We're currently on chapter 14, and we're speaking about the Beinoni. We're getting an understanding of who the middle man is, the Tzaddik, the Beinoni, the Rasha. And what we discussed in our previous lesson is that the one thing that stands out about the Beinoni is that in comparison to a tzaddik, he works on the same level. But the thing is, as we learned before, that he gets thoughts that disturb him and distract him. And he pushes the thoughts aside. Now, that's the Beinoni relative to the tzaddik. What is the Beinoni relative to the Rasha? The Beinoni relative to the Rasha, to the evil person, is the following idea. We say that the Beinoni controls himself in a way that he never wants to fall to the level of the Rasha. Now let's be clear, as we learned in the previous lesson, we said that with regards to even the biggest Rasha in the world, when it comes to a Jewish person, that is what we're speaking about, is that even the lowest person is willing to give up his life, al kiddush Hashem, for the sake of God's, to sanctify God in a matter of complete self-sacrifice. That means to say, as we see all throughout history, how the Jewish people have given up their lives for the sake of Torah, for the sake of God, when it came to certain inquisitions, holocausts, etc., etc. We've seen how the Jewish people were willing to give up their lives rather than to desecrate the Torah, rather than to convert. And even the lowest Jew, who knew nothing about Torah, he was ignorant, and he didn't even observe mitzvot, let's say. But if he found himself in that position, he was willing to give up his life, and he did so. And the Tanya says, this is a very interesting point, because at the end of the day, if a Jew is willing to give up his life for Torah, he can do it. Why is it that a Jew is not willing to give up as much of his life when it comes to doing an Aveira? Meaning to say, if a person knows that it's forbidden to do a particular thing, why is it that the Jew will still go ahead and commit the Aveira? Now we know, if a Jew is faced with a challenge, with a test, that a non-Jew could be standing by and saying to him, worship this idol or I will kill you, the Jew says to himself, it is better that I should die al kiddush Hashem than I should worship this idol. If he can do that with regards to that particular mitzvah, that he shouldn't worship idols, why is it that the Jew cannot behave in the same way and renounce doing a sin when the opportunity arises? Meaning to say, if the mitzvah is, let's say, or the Aveira is eating non-kosher food, why is it that the Jew will rebel and he'll eat the non-kosher food? If he's willing to give up his life for the sake of idolatry, why is it that he's not willing to give up his life, so to speak, for the sake of eating that non-kosher food? And the answer is because, as the Gemara says, a Jew only comes to commit a sin when a spirit of folly enters into him. When the spirit of folly enters into him and he doesn't realize what he's about to do, he commits the Aveira. A Jew assumes that if he commits small Aveiras, I put that in quotes, he imagines that the Aveira that he's doing is small in comparison to idolatry, in comparison to murder, in comparison to sexual immorality. He thinks to himself, I'm only eating a non-kosher piece of meat. It's not so terrible. I'm only doing X, Y, and Z, which is not, I'm only speaking Lashon Hara. It's not so bad. I'm only this, I'm only that. And he comes to give the right to behave in that way, even though it is forbidden. The answer is because a spirit of folly enters him and says to him, by doing this particular Aveira, you will not come to separate yourself from God. And he imagines in his mind that in this Aveira, he would not separate himself from God. When it came to the Aveira of worshipping the idol, he can imagine somewhere along the way, perhaps he's separating himself from God. But when it comes to the Aveira of eating the non-kosher meat, the treif meat, he says to himself, I'm not really distancing myself from God. I'm not really separating myself from God, and I'll prove it to you. He begins to eat the meat, and he says, look, I still believe in God. I still know that God exists, and he comes up with excuse upon excuse. But were he to know that when he eats the non-kosher meat, which is forbidden to him because the Torah commands it as such, when he eats it, he does indeed separate himself from God. Now, here's the thing about the Beinoni. The Beinoni says, what differentiates me from that Rasha is that I will not behave in that way. I do not want for one moment to be separated from God. And that is what differentiates the Beinoni from the attitude of the person who will remain on the level of a Rasha. The moment a person puts into his mind, I will not do that Avera because I do not want to distance myself from God, to separate myself from God, even for one moment, at that point in time, he stands the chance of being that Beinoni. Let us see this inside over here. We said on our last sentence here, even the lowest of the low is able to, such a person is able to give over his soul for the sake of sanctifying God's name. And the Beinoni says, I'm certainly no lower than him. Certainly, I would never get lower than the lowest of the low. Ella, but what is the reason, therefore, that the person committed the Avera? Because there enters into him a spirit of folly. And it seems to him that through this Avera, he imagines that he is still completely Jewish. And his soul is not separated from the God of Israel. And he also forgets his love for Hashem, which is hidden in his heart. But for me, I do not want to be a fool like he is and to deny the truth. Which is not the case, but where something is hidden inside the heart itself. This is what we said last time. I'm just going through it again just to clarify this point. That means to say that the bad will be despised completely, believe in the heart. The sanoi betaklis, and completely hated with a complete hatred, sinner, betaklis sinner, or afilu shelo betaklis sinner, or even if it isn't with a complete hatred, depending on which tzaddik we're talking about. The tzaddik who is a tzaddik gamur hates evil with an utmost hatred, whereas the tzaddik who is she'eno gamur, he's not a complete tzaddik, is a person who doesn't hate the evil to the nth degree. This will not be completely true except through the great power of his love for Hashem. This he can only acquire when he gets to this level of a love of delights. To delight in Hashem, which is a similar delight that he has of the world to come. Now, this is something that the average person cannot attain. Only the tzaddik is able to attain this level of ahava b'tanugim, because ultimately it is a gift from Hashem. The only thing that the Beinoni can do is he can work on the idea that he doesn't want to separate himself from Hashem and do everything he can to be on that path of goodness so that he doesn't come to stumble, neither in thought, speech, or action. The Alzeh Amru Razal. And on this our rabbi said, Olamecha tireh b'chayecha, your world you shall see in your lifetime, referring to the fact that a person who reaches the level of a tzaddik gets to a stage whereby he is able to mystically cleave to Hashem in such a way that he begins to experience the olam haba that he would experience when he dies. He already begins to experience it in this world. And he points out that not everybody merits this. Because this is like the receiving of the reward. When a person reaches this level of ahava b'tanugim, a love of delights, it is a level that is only attained through a gift from Hashem. A person cannot force this love of delights upon himself by doing anything. He can only acquire the level as a gift from Hashem. The idea of ascending in holiness is a two-part deal. The first part is what we can do to acquire higher levels of holiness. The second part is God actually giving over the holiness to us. It is a gift. When a person begins to experience the love of delights, whereby he mystically cleaves to God and he becomes filled with ecstasy in his love towards God, into his devotion towards God, that he feels so close to God. It's a reality. He doesn't feel separated from God in any way whatsoever. This is completely a gift from God, and not everybody is deserving of this gift. And therefore what? Not everybody can attain the level of tzaddik. Because to attain the level of tzaddik is a complete gift from Hashem. We can do the effort that we can do, but the actual acquisition of being tzaddik is something that is a gift from God. Ukediksiv, and it is written in Bamidbar Yud Chet Zayin, that's chapter 18, verse 7. Avodas matana etein esku naschem. A service gift I will give. The service, the gift, a gift of service I give to your Kohanim. Here God is telling us in the Chumash that the blessing of being a Kohen is a complete gift which is given to a person from God. A person, as hard as he tries, cannot become a Kohen. If he wants to become a Kohen one day, and they see, for example, at Shul, that they're missing a Kohen in Shul, and the Kohen needs to get the first Aliyah, and the Gabbai says, is there any Kohen around? And somebody puts up his hand, he says, I see that there are no other Kohanim, but I'm going to be the man. I'm going to be the Kohen. Well, he can't be the Kohen, because the Kohen, to become a Kohen, is a complete gift from Hashem. Either a person is born as a Kohen, or he's not. And to become a Levi, likewise, he's born as a Levi. And wherever he's born, that's where he's born. And if he's born as a tzaddik, that is the gift that God is giving him. Or if a person changes to become the tzaddik, it is only because God is giving it to him as a gift. There is no practical method to become a tzaddik if a person isn't a tzaddik, except to hope and pray that God will bless him with some sort of means that will turn him into that tzaddik. But it is a complete gift, and therefore it is not within our power to force it and make it happen to ourselves. As it is described in another place. And therefore, Job tells us from Batra Tet Zayin Amud Aleph, he said over there, Barata Tzadikim, God, you have created tzaddikim. Barata Rishayim, you have created Rishayim. You, God, created righteous people. And you, God, created evil people. What did he mean by that? As it's brought in the Tikkunim, that there are a number of souls of the Jewish people, different types of levels and aspects. There are Hasidim, some Jewish people fit into the category corresponding to the Sephirah of Chesed, of kindness. These people are called Hasidim. There are some people who are Giburim. They correspond to the Sephirah of Gevura because they come from that source in the Sephirot. They come from Gevura. So therefore they are called Giburim. Hamiskabrim al Yitzram. And what makes them mighty people? They are mighty people because they overcome their evil inclination. Who is a strong person? Ben Zoyma says, Ezehu Gibor Hakoveshet Yitzro, somebody who conquers his evil inclination. Morei Torah, these are the masters of Torah. Nevi'im, there are also prophets. And so therefore the Tikkunei Zohar says over there that there are different categories of Jews. Now, how did these people become the particular category that they're in? They got to that level only because they were born that way. And so too, tzaddikim. We find that God has given to the Jewish people certain people who are called tzaddikim. Just as there are chasidim, and there are chachamim, and nevonim, and giburim, and all of these different types of people, so too amongst the Jewish people, there is another category of people who are called tzaddikim. Ayin Sham, and he tells us, go and check out the Tikkunei Zohar over there for more details. And from this we can understand the double language of the vow that was administered to every single person at the time that he was born, as we brought this down right at the very beginning of the Tanya, as is brought down in the Gemara Nida, in Daf Lamed Amud Beis, Tehi Tzaddik v'al Tehi Rasha. This is the particular oath that is administered to every Jew at the time that he gets born. Be a tzaddik and don't be a rasha. What does that mean, therefore? Based upon everything that we've learned over here, that tzaddikim are born tzaddikim, and so on and so forth, why did the angel give this particular oath to us to swear that we should become tzaddikim and not rashaim? Because apparently this is, we have to question it. Since they make him swear an oath that he should be a tzaddik in this world, why did they need to cause him to swear an oath that he shouldn't be an evil person? If they already tell him, be a tzaddik, then why didn't they just leave the oath at that he should just be a tzaddik? Why did the malach, or whoever is administering the oath to this particular soul, why did he say to him, and don't be a rasha? Ela, but rather here's the answer. Mishum she'ein kol adam zeiche liyot tzaddik. Not every person merits to become a righteous individual. And that is why the oath is administered as it is. The malach, the angel, or whoever is administering the oath, perhaps it's God himself, and he says to him, be a tzaddik, and then don't be a rasha. Why say don't be a rasha? Because not everybody can become a tzaddik. And a person doesn't have the free choice in judgment that he should be able to do this. To delight in God, be'emes, in truth, a real delight. Not everybody can reach that level. And that it should be that the bad will be despised by him completely in truth. Not everybody attains this level. Not everybody is expected to attain this level. We look outside, we see life, we see physical activities. It's difficult for the average person to look at physical activities and become despised by physical activities. Yet the tzaddik, when he looks at many, many things in the physical world, he is despised by the physical grossness of this particular thing. He lives in a world of spirituality, of godliness, of holiness. And when he looks at the physical world, he says, well, what is this? What is this in comparison to God? You know, it's like, for example, there is a video one can see available online where NASA shows a comparison between all the different planets. We start off, let's say, with Mercury and Mars and Venus and Earth and so on and so forth, and the moon, and eventually get to the sun, and then we start to get to all the bigger systems, the bigger suns, the bigger systems, solar systems, and so on and so forth. And as you look at this video, each part, each planet is shown in comparison to the next planet. And when you see, for example, Mars, and then it's next to, you know, Saturn and Jupiter, you see that the comparison is so small that it's as if it doesn't even exist. And if we think about ourselves being on the planet, how small we are in comparison to the planet, and how big the galaxies are out there. And we say to ourselves, well, what are we? Well, when the tzaddik looks at the physical grossness of this world, he says to himself the same thing. What is really this all about? If we compare it to the greatness of the infinite God, it's nothing. And therefore, he doesn't feel any attachment to it. And he doesn't feel any desire towards it. In fact, he despises it. But not all of us are on that level. We still enjoy the physical delights of this world. It's difficult for us to get out of that way of thinking. And therefore, for those people who find that they cannot despise evil, not that they have to, unless, of course, he wants to become a tzaddik. Therefore, mashbiim sheinit. Therefore, they make him swear a second time, a second part of the oath. Al tehi rasha, don't be evil. Meaning, not everybody can become a tzaddik, but everybody can be that they don't choose to be evil. Al kol panim, nevertheless, שבזה משפט הבחירה והרשות נתונה לכל אדם למשול ברוח תאווסו שבליבו, that within this is the freedom of judgment, and the permission is given for every single person to rule by the spirit of his desires in his heart, שבליבו, ולכבוש יצרו, and to conquer his inclination, שלא יהיה רשע אפילו שעה אחת כל ימיו, in order that he won't become an evil person even for one moment of, even 1 hour of all of his days. And this is exactly what we said about the Beinoni. The Beinoni is a person who never comes to commit an Aveira, neither in thought, speech, nor action, for even 1 second of his life. That is the Beinoni. According to the Tanya, everybody is able to attain the level of Beinoni. But the Beinoni does not despise evil. It's just that he refrains from committing the evil. The evil still exists, but he pushes the evil away from him, and he never comes to commit an evil deed or word or thought. Bein bebechinas sur meira, whether we speak about the aspect of turning away from evil, bein bebechinas va'asei tov, whether we speak about the aspect of doing good, this is the Beinoni. V'ein tov ela Torah, and there is no good except for the Torah. Dahayinu Talmud Torah shegeneged kulam, which refers to the study of Torah, which weighs out against all the other mitzvahs of the Torah, which means that the Beinoni can involve himself in the study of Torah every day, all night, whenever he has a free moment. Afal Pikain, he points out here, nevertheless, though that may be so, tzarich likboa lo itim, this Beinoni should still fix up times for himself, gamkein, also, lashitz eitzot benafsho, to place some advice in his soul, meaning to say, he should contemplate, although he's a Beinoni, and the truth is, he doesn't despise evil, nevertheless, the Alter Rebbe is actually about to give us a secret of how to become a tzaddik. Even though the Alter Rebbe tells us you can't become a tzaddik because this love of delights, loving Hashem, is a gift, the Alter Rebbe is going to give us a bit of a program. And he's going to tell us that at the end of the day, you might be a Beinoni. You might be somebody who doesn't do any evil, but the evil thoughts are still there. There is still this concept that an evil thought appears in one's mind, although he pushes it away and he doesn't do anything with it. And the Alter Rebbe says, even though that's the case, and he doesn't come to commit any aveiras, he needs to contemplate, spend some time each day, each week, whenever he can. Liyois mo'es bara. The Alter Rebbe says, look at these words here. I'm translating it now exactly for everybody to hear that the words are to be exact. That the Beinoni should be in a state that he should despise evil. He should contemplate every now and again the fact of what it means to despise evil. In other words, when he looks at something which is not good, even though, generally speaking, he does not despise it, he knows that it's there, but he pushes it away, and he doesn't do anything with it, but he doesn't despise it. The Alter Rebbe says, spend some time every now and again and think about things that are not so kosher, not so good, are used in a negative way, and learn to despise them a little bit. Kagon, for example, Ba'atzatz Chachamenu, as our rabbis suggest in their advice. Now, I want to point out over here, as you read these words, this is a Gemara in Shabbos, on Daf Kufnun Beis, Amud Aleph, as everybody can see. These are not the words of the Alter Rebbe making up what he's about to say here, and we have to clarify exactly what the Alter Rebbe is about to say and explain his words. The Alter Rebbe says, every now and again, a person should contemplate something which shows that he despises evil. Now, how does he think about it? What can he think about that he'll begin to despise evil in practicality? He quotes this Gemara that says, Isha chemes meleya so'a. A woman is a vessel filled with filth. Now, these are the words of the Gemara, and I want to point out over here clearly, Ukahai Governor, and similar to this, that the Alter Rebbe is not saying that this is the state of what it is, but the Alter Rebbe is saying this is how a person needs to think, which means the following. Let's give an example. Let's take an alcoholic. If an alcoholic sees liquor and he says to himself, I'm going to have this liquor and I'm going to be okay with it. And he takes the liquor and he drinks it. And soon enough, he drinks some more. And shortly afterwards, he's finished the bottle. He's as drunk as can be, falling over, can't control his words, slurring. Although next thing you know, he's bringing up, he's not well, he's sick, all these different things. But you know, he doesn't learn from his mistakes, because the next time he's confronted with another bottle of liquor, he does exactly the same thing. The only time that he's going to come right is when he can identify that while liquor in the sense of kiddush on Friday night is something that is holy and pure, but nevertheless, liquor in itself, if not used correctly and one just goes ahead and uses it for as much as one wants to, becomes something that is bad. And not only that, the result is filthy. The result is disgusting. And this is exactly what the Gemara is trying to tell us. When we are working on trying to combat this evil inclination, when we are working on the idea of a life of purity, sometimes we have to take advice into our heads, which, when we take it to the extreme, points out the danger of just where things are at. Now, another idea, for example, people who are involved in a lifestyle of debauchery, for example, and all sorts of immorality, many times, if we confront these people, whether it might be the next day after their evening out, whether it might be years later, people turn around and they say they felt sick after the evening. They were involved in such immorality, in such disgusting acts, whatever it was, that they felt sick about it. Now, that is the feeling that a person needs to feel before the act. If a person can envision, if the alcoholic can envision the disgusting appearance that he will have when he brings up, and afterwards he realizes how disgusting the whole process was in having the alcohol, if he can envision that before, he can stand a chance of preventing himself from drinking in the first instance. But if he takes the wine and he takes the scotch and he continues to drink it thinking that he's feeling good and he doesn't know when to stop, then all that it's going to result in is he's getting sick, even though in the beginning it didn't seem that way. The same concept exists with the woman. Even though it is that marriage is a mitzvah and having children is a mitzvah, and all of these things are holy things, that's the good side. But if a person is not careful and he engages in this particular way of life on the negative side, then it's going to reach a stage whereby, in fact, he will turn around and he will say how disgusted he has become with this particular thing. Now, this is what the Gemara is saying to us. When it says to us, Isha chemes meleya so'a, it's coming to teach us a way of thinking about something. No matter what it is that we become involved in the physical world, if we want to prevent ourselves from going downhill, we need to see what the bad aspect is of that thing, see it in a bad light. So we will be prevented in the future from going ahead in that direction and bringing ourselves to a lower level. V'chein, and likewise, kol minei matamim, all tasty things, uma'adanim, all sorts of delightful, tasty, sweet things, na'asim kach, they all become this. Chemes male, a vessel which is filled with filth, which means to say, the person sees, for example, a slab of chocolate, or he sees a steak in front of him, and he sees all sorts of tasty foods. But he should realize one thing. While the food looks all tasty on the outside and what a delight, what will be the end of this food? Everybody knows what the end is going to be. It's going to turn into filth. That's where it's going to end up at the end of the day. So the more that a person is able to see the negative side of physicality, the more he will be able to cleave to the spirituality on the path that he wanted to be initially, which was going in the direction of becoming a tzaddik. The tzaddik already despised all the evil. He doesn't want a part of it. The Beinoni has not despised it yet. But the Alter Rebbe says he needs to set up times whereby he can look at certain things and realize that the end of those things is not exactly as beautiful as things appeared in the beginning. V'chein, and likewise, kol ta'anuge olam hazeh, all pleasures of this world. Hachacham ro'eh hanoilad mehem, the wise man sees what will come about from them. Shesoifan lirkov, that the end of all of these physical things is that it's going to go into the ground, v'lihiyot rima v'ashpa, and it's going to become worms and garbage. Ultimately, everything of what we become in this physical world as a physical entity turns into garbage, because ultimately when the body is buried, and ultimately everything that we come to, no matter what it is, turns into the rubbish and the soil of the ground. It's interesting to note, I'm just thinking about it many times, the story of the Titanic comes up, and this was a splendorous ship, and only the most wealthy of people could be on this ship in order to enjoy this trip. And unfortunately, an accident happened, and the Titanic sank. And one can imagine the Titanic was worth millions upon millions of dollars. In today's times, the amount is massive. And when it sunk, ultimately, it fell to the bottom of the sea. And today, if one takes a look at pictures of what the Titanic is, all that one can see of it is a metal frame which is turning into nothing. It's a metal frame, that's all it is. But before it was that, it was splendorous. It had all sorts of good things on, furniture and paintings and comforts and all sorts of wonderful things. This was the Titanic. It was fantastic. This is the way of the physical world, where we see things splendorous on the outside. But ultimately, what is its reality? The reality is it's a metal frame. That's what it's going to turn into. And that is where we all turn into as well. We turn into the soil at the end of the day. So the tzaddik, already looking into the future, knows that the physical is something that is gross, whereas the spiritual is something that is holy, and he wishes to cleave to the spiritual. Now the Beinoni is cleaving to the spiritual. But the thing is, he doesn't despise the bad, and there's no reason that he has to. However, if he begins to work on himself to despise it, this is indeed a path to becoming the tzaddik, as he's going to say in a minute. And the opposite is true. When a person begins to delight and have happiness in God, when he begins to contemplate the greatness of who God is, according to his abilities, even though he knows in his soul that he will never get to this level in truth, to its absolute truth, except that he begins to fantasize that maybe such a thing could take place. Even so, he does what he has to do in order to fulfill the oath that they say to him, Tehi tzaddik, be a tzaddik. Hashem yaseh tov be'einav, and let God do what is good in his eyes. We're talking about a person who wants to become a tzaddik, of course. We're not speaking about this for people who are just involved in general life activities. We're speaking about a person now who's working on himself. He wants to achieve higher levels. He's a Beinoni. He wants to become a tzaddik. What should he do? The Alter Rebbe is giving us a type of recipe over here. We'll learn more about it next time. In the meantime, we've reached the end of this Shear, and I thank you for joining me. I'm Eliyahu Shear from Chesed Ve'emet. My site can be found on www.lovingkindness.co. Please do be in touch with me and if you want to send me an email or something, feel free to see the contact form and send me something from there, and I'll be delighted to be in touch with you. If you've enjoyed this video and got something out of it, please make a positive comment, like the video, subscribe to my channel, and click on the bell button to be informed of future shiurim. In the meantime, share the shiur with others, let others know about what we're teaching, and if you have any comments to make in general, please feel free to be in touch with me. I'll see you soon in another shiur. Looking forward to it. Wishing you all the best. Shalom, shalom. Bye-bye.